The idea is to discuss these events with different angles. I like to contribute with my personal angle and some ideas as well. First, because one of the characteristics of this coup, by the way, was the first Latin American coup of the 21st century. In the 20th century, Latin America had tens of coups, and we thought that we were past that era, and then again we saw coup d'etats in Latin America, and the first one in the 21st century was the Venezuelan one, then later on Honduras, and then coming in Haiti there. But the idea is that this particular coup had to look as if it wasn't a coup. That's the idea. It was a criminal dictator killing some people, forcing the armed forces to come out and defend people by toppling the president. That was the idea. There was a script behind, and the script was carefully planned, and there were foreign powers behind it.
Of contemporary angles of representation on the process of historical change going on in Venezuela. But firstly, the film Revolution Not Be Televised, in its title, which, sad to say, and I have to say, comes from the late Gil Scott-Heron, is trying to offer a dual focus on the process of political change, the revolution, and its representation in mainstream media. It will not be televised. The film begins by giving a clear indication of the build-up of aggression against Chavez and his government that led to the attempted coup in the spring of 2011. And the key aspect of the film, I mean, there was the clip that I'll show you includes something that was also from a different angle, a different camera in Mortal Conspiracy, which is the chat show.
So what I'm kind of interested in is how the coup was understood at BBC. Now, just to start off with, I mean, Rob did mention this. This isn't a question of individual journalists being gigs, right? It's not necessarily that this journalist doesn't like the government in Venezuela, that one, you know, it's a much more complicated system than that. What I've done in my broader research is to look at what I call the kind of cultural underpinning of the BBC as an institution. The way the BBC as an institution understands the world, the kind of idea of a harmonious world in which everybody gets together, there's no such thing as class, there's no such thing as race, and any kind of division, especially in Hispanic countries, is brought about these emotional responses.
There are three main issues to look at in terms of what it means for Venezuela. First of all, it clearly changed the power relations in Venezuela. Secondly, it gave Chavez a renewed legitimacy. And thirdly, it radicalized Chavez and the Bolivarian movement. So let me go through each one of these changes or implications step by step. So the first one, in terms of changing the balance of power in Venezuela, this comes quite clear, of course, also if you think of the coup not just as a single event, but it was actually more like a play in 4 acts, I would say. That is, just the coup itself, that is the April events, obviously can't be looked at in isolation. They're part of a longer arc of developments that culminated, well, it depends where you draw the line. Some would say perhaps with the recall referendum in 2004, or you could say it culminated with the defeat of the oil industry shutdown in February of 2003. Depends on where you draw the line, but actually I think the coup itself did not really end, at least until the end of the oil industry strike and shutdown in February of 2003.
Story, because exactly 10 years ago, in April 2002, at the time of the coup, I was in Baghdad, of all places, as part of a Venezuelan delegation to an international conference. The meeting had been summoned by Saddam Hussein to discuss what should be the Third World's reaction to globalization and the World Trade Organization. So the Chinese had decided to join the WTO, and many countries, hitherto quite hostile to globalization, like Venezuela and like Iraq, were worried about the Chinese decision. And my role was to talk about Venezuela's new oil legislation and to explain to the Third World delegates and to the Iraqis the nature of the renationalization of PDVSA. Now, the day before I flew to Baghdad, on Friday,